Alright guys, welcome back. Happy Wednesday. And again, today's videos, like Musketeers, comes to you in 3 parts. So this is part 2. We're looking at arc length, and this is going to be the big part of your Desmos activity today. Most of this is looking at arc length. And I've got a cheesecake here from Junior's in New York City. This is a picture I took on Thanksgiving, and I've just been holding on to it for about 6 months, so really excited that I get to share this with you today. Now, I want to ask you guys, what is the length of the crust that's left? How much crust is left on this 10-inch Junior's cheesecake? If this measure right here, you can't really see that. If the measure right here in the middle, this arc measure, that central angle measure is 40 degrees. So I'm asking you, I know this is 40 degrees. I'm asking you, what is this arc length? What is that length in inches? And we're going to set this up just like we used to set up those triangle problems, where we cut our triangle kind of down the middle here. And we said maybe this was 6 and 9. No, maybe that's 6 and 4, and maybe this whole side is 15 and x. And we said part over whole equals part over whole. We're going to take a similar approach today when we find our arc lengths. These lengths in inches or feet or whatever measurement we're using. So this is a 5-inch radius, 10-inch diameter. All pastries are measured in diameter. Same with pizzas. So first thing we should note is that this is 320 degrees. That's corresponding to the arc that I really want. So we're not even going to worry about 40. We want 320. And this part over whole proportion, this equation will always set up. On the right side, we'll work with degrees. On the left side, we'll work with feet and inches and measurements of that nature. And you could flip the fractions. You'll get the same answer. I just want to have a consistent basis for us as a class to work with. So let's look at what we're given. I'm given a 5-inch radius and this 320 degree arc measure. So what we're going to look at is the part of the circumference. That's what we want. This is really what we're looking for today. Over the whole circumference is going to be equal to the central angle measure that's intercepting that arc over the whole circle of 360. So what are we given here? Part of the circumference, that's what I want. I don't know that yet, so I'll give that x. 2 pi r, well, I can substitute in my radius up here. So I can say 2 times pi times the radius of 5. And that arc measure that we wanted was 320 degrees. So now what we can do is we can, just like any other set of fractions like this, we can cross multiply. But I'm going to simplify first. So x over 10 pi is 31.42 approximately. So 2 times 5 is 10 times pi is 31.42 equals 320 over 360. And then we can cross multiply. So let's cross multiply, and then we can solve. So 360x equals, and then 31.42 times 320. It's going to get me 10,054.4. So to get x by itself, I can divide by 360. To get x is 27.93 inches. So what that tells me is that this measurement, if I took a really flexible piece of measuring tape and I wrapped it around that cheesecake, I should get about 27.9 inches all the way around there. And again, our first step is we've got to know this formula. And we've got to know what numbers I'm given. So what's my formula? What numbers am I given? And then we just need to know where to substitute those values in. So let's look at a few practice problems together. We're always going to use the same proportions, the same formula. And let's see, what am I given? Well, I'm given the circumference. So circumference is 283. I'm given circumference. I'm also given this central angle measure. So I'm given part of the circle in degrees. And they want me to find the arc length. They want me to find the part of the circumference. So I'll say I don't know what this is yet. So x over, and the circumference they told me was 283. It's going to be equal to 115 over 360. And now we can cross multiply. So 360x equals 283 times 115. And 283 times 115, I'm just going to simplify that. 283 times 115 is 32,545. And if I divide by 360 on both sides to get x by itself, then I get x is 90.402, or 0.40 feet. And we're always going to follow that same procedure. The most important thing you can do here is really recognize and take some time to think about, what am I given here? So I'm given, in number 2, circumference again. So circumference is the whole circumference down there. I'm also given this central angle, the part of the circle in degrees. So let's set up our fraction again. I don't know what this is. So I'll say x over the whole circumference is 80 equals part of the circle in degrees, 90 over 360. And I'm going to put some of my algebra inside the circle. I hope you don't mind. But we'll cross multiply. So 360x equals 80 times 90. Should be 7,200. Yeah, 7,200. And then to get x by itself, I'll divide by 360 to get x is 20. So this arc here is 20 centimeters. And let's take one slightly different approach. We're going to take the same formula, same process. The only difference is being very, very careful about identifying what parts you're given. So here I'm telling you, I gave you the arc length and the arc measure. So I'm giving you the part of the circle, part of the circumference is 7.5. So that's the part of the circle I'm giving you. I've also given you this central angle, so part of the whole circle in degrees. And typically we'd think, well, don't I need one more piece of information to solve this? But let's see, when I plug this in, what happens? So 7.5 over x, I don't know what the circumference is. I'm trying to find the circumference. Is going to be equal to 76 degrees over 360 degrees. And we can see now that I do actually have three parts. That 360 is kind of sneaky. You don't really notice it, it just shows up. We'll do the same thing, we'll still cross multiply. And we'll say 76x equals 360 times 7.5. So 360 times 7.5. And if I simplify this, I get 2,700. And then to get x by itself, I'll just divide by 76. And I'll get that the circumference equals 35.53 meters. So let's try the last one here. Let's identify what am I given. Given the arc length of 7 yards, so part of the circle, not the whole circumference. And I'm given 225, so part of the circle in degrees. I'm asked to find the circumference, so I'm going to just make a big X where the circumference would go. So let's see, 7 over x equals, and the part was 225 over 360. So part of the circumference over the whole circumference, which we don't know, equals part of the circle in degrees over the whole circle measured in degrees. Okay, now let's cross multiply and solve. So 225x equals, and then 7 times 360 is 2100 plus 420 is 2520. And to get x by itself over here, I need to divide by 225. And I'll get x is